high court would be bad news for jobs on Main Street, huh?
Well, look at if you're pro-union, that is almost negative jobs because every union job that has been created has actually been negative over the last 20 years. But here's the issue. Her doctrine is about selective empathy, the idea that if you're weak and powerless in a court of law, you should get the judgment over the people who are powerful. She's done 3,700 judgments. This is the primary part of her doctrine. They call it the doctrine of empathy, but the word empathy is selective. And that issue, if it got taken through the courts, would basically say, if I'm going to start this job or hire this or start this company, I'm not going to go there.
That was the firefighter's decision, largely. Okay, well, tell him why he's wrong. Tell Tobin why he's wrong, Steve.
Well, if you look at the Major League Baseball and NFL...
Oh, I knew they were going to throw baseball. Come on, that was one out of...
I love baseball. What can I say?
Me too, but that was one out of 3,700.
Actually, in particular, look at the NFL decision. You had actually the little guy who was going up against the NFL Players Union, right, and she decided against... the little guy. And she saved college football in doing so.
You chose 2 out of 3,700. I don't think that counts.
Eric, I know you as a minor league player. You
look, she did fantastic getting us through the Major League Baseball strike, or would-be strike. But look, she's not really going to change the bench at all. I mean, Justice Souter, who she's replacing, voted 36% of the time conservative, the balance being kind of liberal to the left. And, by the way, he waited until he had a Democrat in office to step down. So whatever she is, look, I'm all for her. She pulled herself up from, basically the wrong side of the tracks, and then to the Supreme Court. You got to like the story, at least, you guys. It's not really anyway.
Gary,
you got a great story. I wouldn't vote for you either.
Is it about the story?
Well, if it was about the story, then Clarence Thomas, who was raised similar roots, wouldn't have had a problem. But he was assailed by the Democrats. But politics aside, back to the whole union issue. First of all, in Steve's example, the Major League Baseball, that's not really valid because those skills that the Major League Baseball players are not transferable to other industries. They just can't go and play NFL football. Where if you're a plumber or electrician and you don't want to work for General Motors or something else, you can go for thousands of other industries.
Well, let me tell you something.
The fact of the matter is unions are a monopoly. They keep wages artificially high. They think they're protecting the worker, and they are protecting the worker in that monopoly. But they're hurting other workers who can't get into the union. They're hurting the company by taking away profits, and those lack of profits inhibit the company from hiring other workers. Yeah. So it's terrible.
Randy, I'm glad
Actually, Toby is Randy, but...
sorry about that.
No, go ahead. That's Gary B.
I'm happy to talk about the Major League Baseball decision all day. If you look... Actually, if you get a quote from Randy Levine, he actually represented the Major League management decision in that case. He actually has come out very strongly in favor of Judge Sotomayor and said that her decision ended up being right on the money. It caused a cooling out period that was that enabled a settlement to be made, and has resulted in 14 years of labor dispute-free baseball.
But it's hard. I mean, it's hard to pigeonhole her, but. Basically, the fact that the unions are behind her says something.
Well, of course, they think that she's going to decide in their favor if it came to push and shove because, forget about those 2 out of 3,700, but the majority of her decisions have fallen into what they call, this realism, judicial realism. Realism, a code word for it's how I feel in my personal experiences, not objectivity. Now, I'm not going to argue whether you're going to be objective or not, but I can argue that when it became mostly to the weak and the powerless, she decided on the weak and the powerless because they were weak and powerless. Her prejudice was the powerful were in error in some way. She just couldn't figure it out how.
I'm going to agree with Tobin that pro-union is bad for business. That's not what we're saying here. The union jumped on board post-fact after Barack Obama nominated her for the Supreme Court. This doesn't mean because the unions are on board, she's going to vote that way, or that she's going to change the vote, or it's going to affect the job market.
Mostly
they had to. No matter who he put up, the unions were going to back him.
All right, that's got to be the last word. Thanks, guys. The president said he didn't want to be in the auto business, didn't he? Well, he is now, and taking big taxpayer bucks along for the ride. Neil's all over it as General Motors is hours away from officially becoming Government Motors. But first, you want to buy your first home, but you can't afford it? No problem. Uncle Sam's got you covered. You won't believe it when you hear this new plan. Is the government about to create a whole new housing crisis on your dime?
The Britain's Got Talent finale. As the winner is announced, will Susan be singing for joy or dropping more F-bombs? Judge Piers Morgan takes Geraldo behind the scenes tonight.
It's not always easy to decide which luxury brand is right for you. You want something that offers beautiful design, outstanding performance, and above all, safety. But of all these luxury